It is the first step to taking back our communities and our neighborhoods.
Further discussion? Please vote. Vote unanimous. Thank you very much.
No one is saying that, oh, because a murderer has a family and is a sole wage earner, we ought to be, very considerate about how we prosecute him. The only class of criminals that we are concerned about the impacts on the families of the criminals are illegal aliens.
Chairman Corey Stewart joined with Supervisor John Stirrup to push through a legislative agenda from Help Save Manassas to help make sure that illegal aliens were going to be properly dealt with by the police department.
It's about an invasion of this country. This country is being invaded no less than if hordes of armed people came across its borders.
We're talking about the very identity and the soul of our country. Who are we? What are we about? And will we survive as a sovereign nation?
We are going to repel this invasion. One way or another, it will be repelled. You can either be part of that repulsion.
Our purpose today is to gather facts on the extent to which the civil rights of residents of Prince William County, Virginia, may be adversely affected by measures taken by the County Board of Supervisors.
We strongly support the action of the Prince William County Board of Supervisors this past July to enact Resolution 09609. And although they're not affiliated with FAIR directly, the local Manassas group did a wonderful job in trying to bring public understanding to this issue.
Good morning. Mike Hethman, Immigration Reform Law Institute. We are a legally separate but in tax terms supporting organization of the Federation of American Immigration Reform. FAIR as an organization doesn't have branches and chapters. These groups really are independent and indigenous, and what FAIR has decided what they want to try to do is to, when these groups form, is to give them some guidance.
It's John Stirrup's resolution, and he was responsible for every word that went into it. We helped get him in touch with the Immigration Reform Law Institute.
Help Save Manassas, Mr. Lateef called us up and said, we've heard about all these problems in other states, we want to do something. So we said, okay, here's what we suggest. I am the drafter of this ordinance. It's on our website. We met with the citizens very early in this year. Without any further interaction with us other than sort of email communications, they approached Mr. Stirrup in particular. And I think at that point was when you heard Mr. Stewart and Mr. Stirrup and the other officials talking about, well, there seems to be a political interest in this, but is this really a problem? And they started looking around and saying, well, what do we have? At that point, they became interested in the idea as a political issue.
Election related.
As election related.
Jackson Miller just walking in the back. Standing next to him is our the Republican challenger in the 29th district, Bob Fitzsimmons. These candidates need your help. They need your money, and they need you to go knock doors and volunteer for them. If you are so inclined.
Why the federal government has failed, and why Prince William County and other localities have to pick up the slack for what the federal government has failed to do. That's right. And tomorrow, we're going to change the world. We're doing it right now. We've started here in Prince William County. We need all of your support. We got a tough election. This election that is on the local level is going to have national significance.
Whereas the Prince William Board of County Supervisors has determined that illegal immigration is causing economic hardship and lawlessness in this county, I want to know how it is the board went about determining that, because it seemed that there was very little fact-finding prior to the board's consideration of this measure. There was not, for example, the kind of fact-finding we've had this morning where we brought in legal experts, demographers, etc., to inquire what the impact is. You seem to have made up your mind what this impact was, and I just want to know what the empirical evidence was of that impact, not people's feelings, but what empirical data did you pull together to determine this lawlessness? I'm looking at a chart that suggests, for example, that crime has gone down. Was it the facts that were motivating you, or was it something else?
You're trying to say that this community and that John Stirrup and myself simply went about this without...
no, I'm just asking a question, Mr. Stewart. Perhaps you can answer.
I'm trying to lay we did look at the impacts on the community. And the thing to remind yourself here is that the community identified this issue. The community identified the issue in the hospitals, in the hospital emergency rooms, as you've just heard from Mr. Schwartz. The community identified the problem on the streets in terms of crime. The community identified the issues in the neighborhoods with housing overcrowding.
My 76-year-old mother is afraid to take out her trash at night. She's afraid to walk to her car because of the community that she lives in. To the left of her, there is a 2-bedroom townhouse with at least 7 to 10 Hispanics.
Illegal aliens, which are criminals. As board members, it is your duty to ensure criminals of this county are legally prosecuted.
You're a criminal. Don't keep saying, I'm not a criminal, I'm not a criminal. You're a criminal.
And I hate to use, the Hispanic thing without clarifying illegal or legal, but they don't clarify those in these figures. But murder suspects, non-Hispanic murder suspects, there were 18 since 2004 up until 2007. Hispanic murder suspects, there's been 10.
No one expected, and no one ever claimed that the 65 Act would lead to this historic and unprecedented entry of foreign persons into the country, both legally and illegally. Senator Kennedy, I think he said, it won't change the numbers, only a few people will come in, and I give you my solemn promise. I mean, these were the terms he used at the time. It's entirely irrelevant to the ethnic makeup of the country. In our metro area, I'm, as a white person, I'm very small minority for many years. I live in Prince George's County. We're down about 17% now.
What are you doing in Prince George's County?
I like it there. They have low taxes.
So you like diversity. I'm convinced.
It's not an issue, diversity. They're the people I associate with Americans.
So when did it start? What has it been going on for a while?
I don't know. I think it really just started since that blog became such a big deal.
The first time I visited, I was shocked. I was shocked that people would say such ignorant things. I would recommend that all institutions that hold ESL classes be contacted to have tables, chairs, and anything else thoroughly cleaned immediately. So now you've got to scrub down from those dirty immigrants who come in to learn English that you are complaining about they don't speak well enough. I mean, how are you supposed to win?
People are honestly, especially religious people, are afraid to say anything because the next day on somebody's blog, they're going to be vilified. And frankly, it's scary for me. It's scary for us. And who wants to be caught in the middle of a vitriolic, hateful debate?
People can write their words completely anonymously, not even have their names known, which I think gives a freedom, and not in a good way, because then you're not held personally accountable.
Up until now, I could not understand why the educational community was not entirely behind our efforts to repel this invasion of parasites. Now it's clear. For each parasite, the school gets some chump change. They are talking about children.
People say it's an invasion. Oh, it's an invasion. Lou Dobbs says, they have leprosy. Oh, they have leprosy.
My personal efforts on my website, again, are very separate from what Help Save Manassas is doing. I go rile people up on a website that's designed to be edgy and provocative and attract readership, and it works for that. But what Help Save Manassas is doing is entirely a separate thing of the more traditional issue advocacy stuff.
Black Velvet Bruce Lee and Greg and Help Save Manassas are all one entity. They are.
These are all comments that Greg doesn't censor. He'll censor mine, but he won't censor these. I'm thinking that maybe this raid is having an effect. This morning, instead of the usual 25 to 30 kids waiting at the K-6 bus stop, there were only 8 kids. The usual suspects were missing. Not a brown face.
By not censoring comments that are clearly racist or inflammatory, but censoring others that challenge, you condone and support the comments that you do allow to be posted. Well, it's his blog. He can censor what he wants. Well, you're right, you can. So then don't pretend that the ones you do allow don't reflect your views. Don't pretend this is an open discussion, because it's not.